The playwright Aeschylus represents the classical Greek ideal, a man who measured his life's worth through civic duty as much as his art. His self-authored epitaph makes no mention of his plays. It records only that he fought the Persian Empire at the Battle of Marathon, standing in the phalanx when independent city-states held a unified line against external threats. This era of the rule-bound polis was a peak of Mediterranean civilization, but the system was about to be dismantled by internal rot. In 404 BCE, Athens surrendered to Sparta. The Athenian Empire was stripped of its navy and its defensive walls, ending the half-century of stability that had defined the Greek world. The Spartans installed a commission of 30 oligarchs to rule the city. This regime conducted a systematic purge of their political rivals, executing 1,500 people, roughly 5% of the Athenian population, in a matter of months. This was the onset of stasis, a condition of chronic civil strife. It spread between the rich and the poor in nearly every city. It was an internal breakdown that made the old models of Greek life impossible to maintain. With the traditional city-state no longer providing security or justice, the Greeks faced a period of forced adaptation. To survive the collapse of the old world, they had to rebuild their military and intellectual systems from the ground up. By 371 BCE, the pressure of constant warfare led to a break in military tradition. The Theban general Epaminondas faced a Spartan army that had dominated mainland Greece for centuries through rigid, predictable strength. Traditional hoplite warfare was a game of symmetry. Two equal lines collided head-on, pushing until the weaker side gave way. Epaminondas rejected this balance. Utilizing an oblique order, he massed his left wing 50 ranks deep, aiming this concentrated weight directly at the Spartan vanguard. The deep column crushed the Spartan core and killed their king. By using asymmetrical force to defeat superior numbers, Epaminondas proved that intellectual innovation could overcome centuries of entrenched military prestige. Battles could be won with new formations, but the civil strife, the stasis, remained a threat to the existence of the cities themselves. Plato, a witness to the atrocities of the 30 tyrants and the execution of his mentor, Socrates, concluded that the existing political framework was beyond repair. He moved his operations outside the city walls to a grove dedicated to the hero Academus. There he founded the Academy, the first institution of its kind in the West. Plato's goal was to move beyond factional politics by training a new class of leaders. He wanted to replace the impulse of the mob with a government of reason, educating leaders who would prioritize logic and the good over personal power. The Academy represented a transition in how society organized itself, moving away from direct political conflict toward the creation of permanent institutions to refine human thought. While generals and philosophers built new systems, the general public reached back to the past to find a sense of lost identity. In an unprecedented move, Athens passed a law allowing the plays of Aeschylus to be revived and restaged at public expense, long after his death. The Athenians used these performances as a moral compass, revisiting the civic virtues of the 5th century to study themselves while their own political influence was fading. A century of constant adaptation and internal war left the southern city-states exhausted. Their inability to form a stable peace created a power vacuum that a northern outsider was ready to fill. Philip II of Macedonia had been a hostage in Thebes, where he studied the tactics of Epaminondas. He returned home and applied those lessons to reorganize the Macedonian state. Philip replaced his part-time soldiers with a professional force, wielding the sarissa, a pike nearly 20 feet long. This diagram shows the result. His men could strike the traditional Greek hoplites before their enemies' spears could even get close. At the Battle of Chaeronea, Philip's professional phalanx ended the era of the independent city-state. He unified Greece under his own leadership, closing the chapter on the local polis. The independent city-state, the political heart of classical Greece, was effectively finished. But the century of chaos had forced a series of breakthroughs that the old, stable world would never have produced. The survival instinct of the 4th century had generated Epaminondas's asymmetrical tactics, Plato's institutionalized philosophy, and a renewed commitment to the tragic drama of Aeschylus. This intellectual and military framework was exactly what Philip's son, Alexander the Great, would inherit. These tools allowed him to export Greek science and philosophy across the known world, turning a local collapse into the foundation of a global culture.